evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of August 11th, 2020 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential, and of the district's vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under Executive Services, 19 items under Academic Services, 2 items under Human Resources, 1 of which is for good cause. Dr. Adkins, please provide an explanation for this 1 item.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The reason for the good cause item is to make sure that we have a principal school leader in place at the start of school. So that's why I'm bringing these matters forward to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. As presiding officer, I find that there is good cause to add this 1 item to the agenda. Also on the agenda are 4 items under operations, 1 of which is for good cause. Dr. Adkins, please provide an explanation for this 1 item.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. This particular item gives us an opportunity, if we act quickly because of a limited supply, to be able to provide the handless water dispensers for our students so we get those installed in school.
Great, thank you. As presiding officer, I find that there is good cause to add this item to the agenda. Also, are 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Madam Chair, can I ask if I have a question about one of the good cause items, will there be discussion later?
When the good cause item comes up, then there'll be opportunity for discussion when we have the motion on the good cause.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be clear.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yeah, I move to accept the agenda.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Mrs. Morgan. Okay, please record your vote. This evening, Ms. Patrika has invited Rabbi Nicole Luna of Temple Beth El.
Madam Chair, we need the vote count.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And the count is unanimous, 7-0. Thank you, to approve the agenda. This evening, Mrs. Patrika has invited Rabbi Nicole Luna of Temple Beth El to deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Gittins will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Patrika, please invite your guest to deliver the invocation at this time.
Rabbi Nicole Luna, are you on the line?
I am, yes. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm honored to share an invocation from the Jewish tradition.
Thank you for joining us.
Almighty God, thank you for the health and strength to come together this evening for the sacred task of engaging in the needs of our community. We ask for your blessing upon our school board and all those who play a role in educating the youth of our county. Give them wisdom and insight as they tackle the issues and challenges of leading this great community forward. We are all made in your image, God, all vessels for your holiness, and you are with and love each and every one of us. May the discussions and decisions made this evening honor the divine found within us, honor you, so that we may live up to your call for tzedek, justice and righteousness, and shalom, peace and well-being. When we work to repair this world, when we rise above our complacency and offer compassion and love, we answer your call. When we fight to eradicate poverty, injustice, and discrimination, we answer your call. When we make a choice to help another human being in need, instead of averting our gaze, we answer your call. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'tzorchei tzibor. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with commandments and commands us to engage in the needs of our community. Amen.
Beautifully stated, Rabbi Luna. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mrs. Gittens, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one acknowledgement, and that is the character education word for August. The character word is responsibility, accountability for your personal choices, obligations, and duties. The quote is, "The price of greatness is responsibility," author unknown. The design you see displayed on the screen was created by Gracie Gall, now an 11th grader at Estero High School. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mrs. Dupree-Bruno, please address the agenda item of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a blue card, please put it in the basket provided at the back of the room. If you need a blue card, they are located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. Public comment will be made from the central microphone located in the back of the room. Please be advised that the board does not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. At the end of the public comment period, the board chair, Ms. Fisher, will address concerns or the assignment of any concerns or requests to the superintendent. We encourage each speaker to wear a mask during public comment. We would ask that you use the sanitization supplies which are provided near the microphone after you speak for the benefit of the next speaker. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, booing are prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11. The time per speaker is 3 minutes. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name prior to making your comment. Please stay 6 feet apart while in the public comment queue. Madam Chair, there are 2 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bruno. Before we proceed, is there anyone in the audience on the right side of the auditorium who wishes to address the board? Anyone on the left side? Ms. Bruno, please proceed with the speakers.
Will the first speaker please come to the microphone? State your name.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair Fisher, Superintendent Atkins, Attorney Dupree-Bruno, and board members. My name is Kevin Daly, and I'm president of the Teachers Association of Lee County, and I'm going to borrow a tactic from bargaining for a second. I have a time commitment, so I'm going to leave shortly after I make my comment because I have to be somewhere for a 7 o'clock that I didn't schedule. So I just want to say a few things. We finished our COVID-related bargaining with the district last week. I'd like to thank the TALC team and the district team for working on this difficult and important process. I hope everybody got a chance to watch some of the bargaining sessions and saw the level of expertise and knowledge that each member of the team brings to the table. Everybody provided a unique perspective and expertise and advocated for all the members of the bargaining unit and the schools. We're going to work on the contract language and assembling the document to include items we reach consensus around into a format to present to the members of the bargaining unit. Once that document is complete, we'll post and share among the bargaining unit members and send out for ratification. So that being said, we did reach agreement. I do, however, I think I need to talk about some things that we haven't talked about. And so earlier today, I sent the petition we had online to Chair Fisher, over 4,500 signatures, that asks that the board reconsider the choice to go to any form of in-person school at the start of the school year. I'm just going to read something also from the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. At the time of this writing, this is from July 28th, at the time of this writing, viral positivity rates are extremely high in Florida. The World Health Organization has recommended that the new positive test rate for SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19, should be under 5%, averaged over a 14-day, before states and hence schools can safely open. Therefore, the FCAAP recommends that school districts and locales with higher positive rates, equal or more than 5%, that do not meet the 14-day criteria, delay the start of school until positive testing rates are lower. In many areas of the state, coronavirus prevalence will not decrease enough in the next 4 to 6 weeks to make the benefits of school attendance outweigh the risks. Currently in Lee County, as of today, the pediatric positivity rate is 19.8%. So that means 1 out of every 5 children who are tested come back positive. The overall positivity rate is 13%. I think it's very important to see this. Now, in the past few days, the numbers have come down, and we have seen a negative trend, in a downward trend. The problem with this is the governor and the commissioner have, what we believe, gone beyond their constitutional authority to coerce and extort districts into physically opening by financially penalizing those that don't. Lee County could lose up to $50 million if we don't open physically. But I still think it's worth the discussion around the positivity rate and what's going on. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Will the next speaker please approach and state your name?
My name is LaQuasia Cochran. Normally I'm here to support whatever school that my children attend and just kind of be involved in the meetings. Today I'm here for just more of a personal reason. I just want you guys to just kind of open your minds and pay attention to a lot of the parents, more so first responder parents, who are having to work throughout the pandemic. On top of that, we have small children, my children age 5, age 8, who has a chronic illness of asthma, and I also have an 11-year-old. I've had to make a big decision to send my children back to school. On top of that, I just got word that my children will be sent to 2 different schools. More so where my 5-year-old and my 8-year-old will be getting off the bus alone and more than likely be walking a little over a half a mile, close to a mile to my house. And on top of that, they will be at home alone. That's with my chronic asthmatic. So if something happens to him, I pretty much don't have that. I've been in communication with student assignments since May. Back and forth, me doing some research on myself, trying to figure out how can I get my children together. My children have to go home alone. I've taught my 11-year-old how to make sure if he needs to use an EpiPen, if he needs to be able to do whatever he needs to do for my 8-year-old son, whether it's a nebulizer, to care for him. Right now, my children are still separated, so if you guys should just kind of open your minds to the parents who have to go to work. We don't have a decision not to go to work. And if we don't go to work, then we can't feed our family or provide for our family. But at least to try to keep or make opportunities to where any of these kids could be kept together at one school, whether it's a K through 8 or whatever that's needed. And just pay attention, because we've had a lot of lack of communication when we're communicating via email with student assignment. I've had several emails go into spam. It's just been very complicated. Calling, you don't get any answer. You come down here, the doors are locked. I feel like I'm just alone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Chair Fisher, there are no more public comments at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Daly, for your comments, and we appreciate that. LaQuisha, before you leave, I just want to ask Dr. Atkins if you can have someone from student enrollment contact this mom and see if she is eligible for a waiver.
Here, we'll do,
under the
Dr.
circumstances.
Dr. Spiro will go out there and meet her. I see Dr. Pruitt with her right now. In addition to that, just let people know that we do have the student assignment offices. They are open this week. So, parents, I stopped by there yesterday, and they've got that, a really good plan in place, I think, to take care of our parents.
Thank you. Yeah, we know they have their hands full. Thank you. Before we move on to the approval of the consent action items, I'm going to give Mrs. Gittens an opportunity to ask her questions about the two good cause items.
Okay, and basically, thank you, Chair Fisher. My question is about the funding, and I believe as I looked at it, and it's sort of an issue to me to get it today. We got it kind of late, so I didn't get an opportunity to spend much time looking at it. However, the water fountains and the masks, it states that they will be paid for through capital funds. And my question basically is, I thought that we got CARES Act funds to take care of this type of issue. And I know we received didn't we receive CARES funds before? This is the second go around with it. And I just would like, Dr. Atkins, if you can clarify how this is having to come out of and I know we only received $2 million the second time, and the water things were like 1.5, so I understand there's a shortfall there. Did you already spend all of the first part of the CARES Act? And just kind of an update on that, because my concern is that if we continue to have to spend our funding, our capital funds and all, on things that are COVID related, later on we're going to be short, because that, we've only got so much in one pot. When we take out of that, then how do we replenish that, and what is it affecting?
Okay.
Thank you.
So there are two things that we're spending money on that I think you brought up there. One is the personal protection equipment, and that's really going to come out of our general fund dollars. PPE, you're talking about the masks and the sanitizer, those type of things, so those are not capital expenditures. The reason why we would first use the general fund is we would be attempting to get FEMA reimbursement for those dollars. So that's the kind of the first line that we're trying to do. They're the most restrictive form of funding, most difficult to get, but if we're using general fund dollars, then you are able to at least be eligible, or you hope to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. The second would be the water dispensers are a piece of capital equipment, so that would come out of our capital budget, which again is, and I don't know if those are eligible, I believe they are eligible for the FEMA reimbursement as well. And then CARES would come after that. So if we didn't pull the money out of that budget, weren't able to get it, FEMA reimbursement, then we could get CARES dollars, as I understand it. And I'm looking at Amy because she's.
And the only issue too with that, I mean, I know we've had trouble in the past getting FEMA reimbursement for things, and it takes so very long for them to decide, and then to come back and say, well, no, we're not going to do that, or we're only going to give you this much. So, and just can you focus too on the CARES Act money, how that was distributed?
She's stepping up to the mic now.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. Can y'all hear me?
Nope, not yet.
screen. All right.
Now we got you.
All right, very good. So there were two parts to that question. The first part was how the fact that FEMA takes a long time to get, so why are we doing that versus the CARES Act? Did I understand the first part of your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that is because and yes, it could potentially take a while to get, as we have discussed before, but it allows us at the most flexibility. It is true that we won't get the entire amount reimbursed from FEMA. It's that split between federal, state, and the district pot that we have talked about before. But the advantage for us of doing that is we can utilize FEMA in order to reimburse the things that they will through the Act, and then that allows us to use the CARES Act funding in order to focus on some other more student-centered educational initiatives that are really focused on trying to provide some additional services to students to help with mental health and with additional educational initiatives to try to tighten the gap that we may have seen as students were out. So with the CARES Act, and there are 6 or 7 different parts to that. You referenced there was the first round and then the second round. Not necessarily, there were just different parts to the funding, each focused on a different area: pre-K, post-secondary, CARES, and then which is ESSER, which is just elementary and secondary, and then summer funding. So there were different parts to the funding. There weren't necessarily like a first and second round. So the parts that are focused on our K-12 and our summer initiatives, utilizing those, like I said, to provide more educationally centered items for our students. And so we felt that based on the different pots of funding that we had, those would be the best way to utilize each of those in order to maximize their usefulness.
So is it fair to say then that a lot of the COVID-related issues that we're having to pay for are just like unfunded, that we have to find the money to do it?
Yes, they're coming right now out of our most of them, right, out of our general fund budget, based on the conversations that we had related to the budget leading up to this point, saying yes, that was going to be a significant cost to the budget for this year, and that we will work to receive as much FEMA reimbursement as we could in order to recoup those costs. We still do, as Dr. Atkins said, retain the right, okay, to utilize CARES if we believe that we need to, but because those are both federal funding sources, you can't double dip with that.
Right.
And so we want to try to maximize the usage of each of those different opportunities to tap into different funding.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I brought it up, there were community members and citizens that were under the impression that we got CARES money to take care of doing these things, and they didn't understand how it all is divided. And I thank you for the explanation.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the consent action items. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review the material, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Mrs. Giovanelli.
I have none.
Ms. Patrica.
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
I have none.
Ms. Gittens.
I have none.
Ms. Vaughn.
I have none.
Ms. Morgan.
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion then to approve the agenda's consent action items?
To approve the consent action items.
Moved by Mrs. Giovanelli.
Second.
And seconded by Ms. Gittens. Please record your vote. Okay, the vote is unanimous, 7-0. This evening, we have no attorneys' recommendations or public hearings. At this time, we are at the portion of the agenda where we will entertain board members' comments or reports.
Chair, I just wanted to, let me, if you don't mind, can I make some announcements? Some administrative appointments that were made as part of the consent?
Yes, that's the most fun part. Thank you.
Thank you. So first appointment, Amanda Williams, Lehigh Elementary Assistant Principal. Next one, Eric Washington, Colonial Elementary, from Assistant Principal to Principal. And then next one, Jason Kurtz, Exceptional Student Education Coordinator to Hector Cafferado, Principal. Congratulations. Thank you, Madam Chair. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you, and congratulations to all of you. At this time, board members' comments. Mrs. Giovanelli.
Actually, a couple things I have is the fact that I was able to go to the ribbon cutting of the new charter school, the Athenian Academy, and that was actually a beautiful little facility there out in Estero. And so I highly recommend if anybody has an opportunity to go there and check it out. It's going to be quite that little facility, so it's actually very nice. One of the things I did want to bring up for Dr. Atkins was I've received several calls regarding items that teachers, and if you could just get clarification, I think there was some miscommunication on that. I know we were, Ms. Stillwell had let us know about it, because I think we're all hearing some, teachers are upset because I don't know if they fundraise, and the difference in the fundraising versus donations for their classroom and items for their classroom that belongs to the school district, and they've actually, several I'm being told is their bookkeepers, I think it was their bookkeeper was telling them that some of the items could be subject to this property of the district. So if that could get clarified, I think that would be great so the teachers understand that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Giovanelli. Dr. Ray? Do you want to wait until it's your turn?
Yeah, you wait till
Okay,
board
great.
member
Thank you.
comment, or my comments.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Patrica?
I've just got a few quick things. First of all, I am so glad to be back at the table with my colleagues. It's wonderful to be with you physically present. And I want to thank staff for making this happen. I know you guys put a lot of effort into just the board table, which by extension, you can only imagine what's happening in our schools. So thank you. I had my meeting with the unions yesterday, and Jamie Michaels was deep in the middle of online bidding for transportation. From what I understand, it was wildly successful. And so there's a suggestion that continue into the future. So I'm just throwing that out there. I attended a virtual symposium on racism from a mother's perspective. It was an online virtual symposium, and I think that if you don't mind, Ms. Gittens, I'm going to punt to you and let you talk about the format for future meetings for town halls and similar symposiums in the education context here in Lee County. We have an FHSAA board meeting on Friday in Gainesville. Again, we will be face-to-face, so I think that will lead to better deliberation, and I see Kathleen smiling even though I can't see beyond her mask, because it will be the first time I get to be alone since March. I get to drive for 4 hours to Gainesville by myself and then 4 hours home by myself. I've not been alone at all. Anyways, we will be deciding how we will be returning to sport. What that looks like, I have no idea. I've received no backup materials from the staff at FHSAA, and that is not a criticism. That is a recognition of the fact that they're working hard on putting together a good plan. And Dr. Atkins, I will try to speak with you and Mr. LaRosa before that meeting. Finally, Mr. Daly and I, along with Dr. Fazzone, had a lively discussion yesterday about the online petition to go full virtual. And I presented them with the question of why would you deny parents and teachers the opportunity to go back physical face-to-face instruction if that's what they want? And both of them said, that's a good question, I can't answer that question. And I really believe that what we're doing here in Lee County is we are providing options. And parents can choose the option that works best for them. And to deny parents the option who either need to send their kids to school, like our speaker, what was her name?
LaQuisha, but I didn't catch her last name.
Like LaQuisha said tonight, or somebody who just genuinely wants to physically be back in a building, to include teachers and staff who physically want to be back in buildings. I think that that is irresponsible, or would be irresponsible on my part. Mr. Daly mentioned that we are being coerced and extorted by the Department of Education and the governor. I do not feel coerced. I do not feel extorted. I feel that they have given us flexibility in funding to provide a virtual option for kids. Without that flexibility and funding, we would not have gotten full funding for allowing virtual education for kids and for teachers. So our discussion, again, was very lively. I think we agreed to disagree in the end, but I wanted to give that perspective in contrast to the perspective that was given during public comment. Those are my comments, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Patrica. Ms. Jordan.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. I guess I had the same conversation too with the union group as well. But I know we were talking about what do we want up here, you know? And I know some of the things that we had said, that we want to be responsible, we want courage. And to me, and I look at 6, 7 grandkids going back to school of my own. So that, it's really hard, you know, the stress alone, the emotional stress on all of us, and even within myself on that. But I do really want us to pay attention to that, the target range. Even though I know, and I really appreciate everything everyone has been doing, I just want to make sure that we are paying attention, because we are at 14.5% right now here in Lee County. And actually, when I was looking at the numbers, Fort Myers alone, we have about 2,000 cases in the city of Fort Myers. That's the most in all of Lee County collectively. And I just think that, you know, we, as well as, you know, doing our due diligence, and the teachers that want to go back, the students that need to go back, we still have to make sure that we're protecting all of, you know, our assets, which are our families and our children. Also, I've been steadily trying to work with the Commissioner Freed and working to make sure that we can feed our kids, all of our kids, regardless if they're going virtual or home connect or regular school. So that's been a task. I actually spoke to Lake County. Someone had sent us an email that Lake County was doing testing for all their free testing for all their teachers, their students, and I had a conversation with Ms. Owens up there, and they're doing this rapid testing for all their students and their staff. And a doctor in that area is the one who's doing it. It's an adult medicine of Lake County, and he's doing it it's being paid through a CARE funding grant. So that's where they're getting the funding from. It's no money's not coming out of their district at all. And then even throughout the year, if someone feels the need to be tested, they will test them for free. So I did put a call into Mr. Cady, who is operating this for them. And it's just a great partnership, you know, for that county. And I know we have a lot of good partnerships too. And he's actually setting these up in the different schools in their parking lot where students and staff can go there and have that taken care of. And they're the 19th largest district in the county. And I know I've asked about that before, because I know that to me, waiting 7 days is a long time. So if we could have a partnership with someone like that, that would be ideal as far as I'm concerned. We're still working with Franklin Park, and forgive me for the other day when my computer went down, and thank you, Dr. Atkins, for finishing my comments for me. I could not get back on in time to explain about the Franklin Park and us reaching out to the community and getting letters to send up to the state so we can have a complete build on that. And I will tell you, I talked to Councilman Street's office again today, and they're very excited, and because he is an alumni, he was there 45 years ago, so he wants to help and do whatever he can for the district to make that happen. So that's what I've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gittens?
Okay, a couple of things. The one, and Madam Chair, I need to ask the board's indulgence on this, the CSI committee, and I'll read what the ask is. We had a July meeting, and because it was July, there weren't a lot of participants in that. And they were wondering about, since most of the decisions for reopening have been made and processes finalized, if there is any specific need that the committee needs to give input to. And if not, then we would not have another meeting until our meeting in September. So the question is whether we would have a meeting in August, if there's anything that needs to come before the CSI committee. And I don't know, Dr. Atkins or whomever can weigh in on that, if there's anything that you would need for them to discuss.
I think at this time, I think we're in pretty good shape. I mean, we have gotten a lot of input regarding the reopening from a multitude of sources. So, and that's really honestly where the focus is right now.
Right.
So, I think they would be fine to not meet in August if they wanted to wait.
Until September?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess I will just relay that back to the committee, and we'll go from there. Thank you. First of all, congratulations to, most of them left because we're so exciting with the rest of our meeting. Congratulations to the administrators from tonight. And I do have to say a special shout out to Ms. Williams because I understand she's from Chicago, so we have an affinity already. And Mr. Washington, I can remember working long, hard hours as a teacher with you, and I'm very proud to see what your accomplishments. Also, I think I mentioned on our meeting, our workshop on Friday, about the Eastleigh Education Cooperative, and gave you an update pretty much on that. We are canceling our meeting this week and having it the following week. And our plan then is to look back at the, I think, 4 or 5 meetings that we've already had and to kind of take a moment to regroup and see which actionable items we were working on and kind of give an update on that. So that will be our next meeting, and I'll get with you, Dr. Atkins, about that list. It's been very successful. And I, suggest anyone else, board members that want to do something similar. It has brought a different perspective for members of the community to participate in the education process. And I think the issue was that many of them felt that there was not that community participation. So they're very grateful, and as I am, for that endeavor. Let's see. And the lady's name was Ms. Cochran that spoke.
Oh, thank you.
And I do have to mention that because I don't know about everybody else, but I have gotten several calls and communications from parents that are going through similar things. I mean, it was funny the other day. I had, not funny, but interesting, I had one lady to call to say that she lives in Lehigh and she wanted her child to go to Lehigh Senior, and the next lady that called and contacted, and the lady in Lehigh's child was assigned to Dunbar, and another lady whose child was assigned to Dunbar I mean, we wanted to be Dunbar, so I'm like, can we just meet on 82 and, something? But that's the kind of thing that is happening. And it's a shame they can't just, talk it out or something. I know it's not that easy, but, and Dr. Atkins, of course, the main topic is the reopening, and I know you're going to talk about that later and give us an update. I am finding in comments from parents that unbelievably, last night there was a message from a parent that was still confused about, that had signed her child up. She thought she signed them up for Lehigh Virtual, and it was actually Home Connect. And as she was messaging to me, I realized she was talking about Home Connect and not about Lee Virtual, but she was calling it that. So, maybe in future, just kind of looking back, the names can be a bit different. Having the Lee in front of both was confusing to people. So even if we just said, Home Connect, that would make it a little bit better. And in your comments, I would appreciate as well hearing about the current status of the numbers. There have been parents that have stated that in the high school, for face-to-face, that they've been told there are as many as 30 students in a class at high school. And I know it becomes a real chess game to try to figure out how to have enough teachers in classes. So if you can address that as well. And my final thing is on the census, good old census, it's still going on. And if you go onto my my personal and then the Lehigh Complete Count Committee page on Facebook, I did a short presentation last night. Starting today, if you have not participated in the census, your name is on a list and you're more than likely going to have someone knock at your door. And I put out the pictures of what the person would have, like they will have a tablet or a phone, and they'll have a badge as well and a lanyard that says census. And they'll have a little bag over their neck that has census 2020 census on it. And I posted those pictures because there's a lot of confusion about who's coming to your door. And they will not, force you to open your door. If you choose not to, they will leave a plastic package on the door with the information for you to go ahead and participate. So you don't have to open the door. And I mentioned the fact that I know kids are still at home. And so parents say, don't open the door. They will not speak with children. They have to speak to an adult that's in the household. So if an adult is not there, they won't continue. They'll just leave the package. It's really, really important that these last few months, it was supposed to be ending in October, and I think recently they changed it to September. They're hoping that it may go back to give more time. But we have quite a few people that have said they're out on the streets doing these jobs. We had a lot of the teachers that had signed up for it. And they're working at this time and going door to door. So if you don't want someone at your door, go online or make the phone call and complete your census. And if they do come, that they will help you not more than 5-10 minutes, and they will do it right there in front of you. I am very glad to say that in the East Zone, in the Lehigh area, our numbers are up. I think the county's numbers are like 56%, and we're at about 60% now. And we only have, I believe, 2 areas that have not surpassed the 2010 census goals already. And we have some that are up to 20% more than they were in 2010. So we're moving right along, but it's not over, so keep up the fight. And last thing I want to say on what Ms. Patrika and Ms. Jordan were talking about, there's a lot of he said, she said, and controversy about the reopening of schools. And I just hope that people realize when we talk First Amendment and agree to disagree, that we'll all realize that I don't know of any country that you can live in that everyone agrees to everything, and everyone has their own way of looking at it. But if we can somehow swing the pendulum to, take a piece of what this person thinks and a piece of what this person thinks, we can come up with the best conclusion for children. So I hope we all, as adults, teach our children by the way we act to agree to disagree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn.
Thank you. Before I give general comments, I wanted to ask Dr. Atkins a question to clarify something, and I was hoping that there would be an opportunity for some of the board members, if they wish, to weigh in. There's another petition out there, and that relates to school opening and COVID. And in the grand scheme of things, it may not seem like that big a deal, but it's from the parents of kindergartners. And there are many parents of kindergartners that are really upset and they're requesting just one day, just that first day, to be able to walk their child into the classroom if their child is obviously going to the face-to-face. So I just wanted to know if there are any, obviously I know the safeguards that we have put in place and all of that, but I don't know, maybe the kindergarten teachers would be happy to have that too, to alleviate one less scared child. So Dr. Atkins, and then Chair Fisher, could board members weigh in if they, it's kind of a good of the order.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to do that now, or do you want me to do that?
Well, Mrs. Vaughn, were you asking?
What, I just thought it would behoove us to take a few minutes to look at the issue and see if it's something, it kind of, a long time since I had a kindergartner, I was trying to remember walking my girls to class that first day, and all I could find was a picture of one of them in a cute little smocked blue and white dress, but that was a long time ago. But I know that this is just, we talked a whole lot about the graduations and all of that at the time, but this is a huge milestone, and it's probably in many cases more traumatic for the moms than it is for the kids. But just if we could give it a few minutes, however.
Madam Chair, there's no motion pending right now. My recommendation would be that when Dr. Atkins makes his comments, then he can address that particular topic. But at this point, there's no motion, there's nothing really open for discussion. I think it's more appropriate to come when Dr. Atkins makes his comments.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Vaughn, you want to just proceed with your comments, and then we'll have the discussion when Dr. Atkins addresses those issues.
Okay, at the very end. All right.
Thank you.
I can do that. All right, so we've already had other board members comment on what Mr. Kevin Daly said about giving some of the statistics. And although I stand behind the incredible job the staff has done in doing whatever is humanly possible to protect our children, sometimes that's just not enough. I like what Ms. Jordan said about, I wish that I would feel more secure if in Lee County we had access to the rapid testing, so that all the children and staff members that were going to be participating in face-to-face were able to do that. I do know that there has been a slight decline in the positivity rates, And I credit the retail establishments for doing that. If you notice, when did the rate start going down, the positivity? When Publix and Target and all of those other major stores that we frequent said, you're not allowed in here without a mask. I'm not afraid to say that, and this is my personal belief, not a board, as a board member, but as a person. Not that board members aren't people, but you get it. I agree with Mr. Daly. I feel like the school districts of this state are being held hostage by the DOE, that we are over a barrel, and despite our very best efforts to safeguard, and again, I feel like we've done an exceptional job with that. When you have a positivity rate among children at nearly 20% and overall at 13%, and if you're paying attention to what every healthcare expert says, that's not an area where you want to have the schools open. So, you know, tick-tock, we're almost there, but I just pray that we don't open and then a week later have to close some schools. I have with it's more like I'm there as a facilitator for School Heroes Wear Masks, and this is our new drive to get the community to support us by donating reusable masks. Now, just to be clear, the children who can't afford or for some reason don't have masks when they get on the bus or go in the classroom, we are supplying those disposable masks. But this is so the children and this is going to start next week. We're going to be collecting from members of the community reusable masks in both adult and youth sizes. I have a meeting tomorrow with the real team here, and so a shout out to Mr. Adam Malloy, Ms. Irma Lancaster, Mr. Jarrett Eady in really stepping up and doing much of the planning. And also, thank you, and I don't even know which of the board members sent information to Mr. Malloy, but I think probably looking at the addresses from some of them, we've had good participation, and so thank you. And right now, the last time I was updated on this yesterday, we had 19 community partners in various parts of the county. And we also are going to have a collection site right here at in this building. And I have a very ambitious goal of 50,000 masks. That sounds like a lot, but we have a very generous community. And although we're going to be mostly looking for masks to be donated, kind of like you do for Toys for Tots and the toy collection drives, you have one new reusable mask, put it in the box in a collection site, you have 20, however many, they add up. And again, the information on this will be out all over. We're going to just bombard all of our social media for giving you the collection sites and some more information. And there's also going to be opportunities for our large donors that we have, our very generous larger community partners, if they want to donate hundreds of masks. We're going to have recognition on the website at the end in terms of like silver, gold, and platinum donors. So lots of opportunities out there, and again, it's going to be new reusable masks in child and adult sizes. So if you're shopping and see some good buys on masks, probably you won't find them on sale, but pick up a few and then deposit them starting next week. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Mrs. Morgan.
I know a board member mentioned this at one of our meetings last week, but I want to compliment Talc and district leadership on the negotiations. I'm guessing that it went well over 16 hours, maybe 20 hours of negotiation. I had not watched negotiations before, and I was incredibly impressed by the process, by the commitment of both teams to interest-based bargaining. So I think someone said previously that whenever we're struggling as a group to figure out how to find common ground, go back and look at the Talc negotiations with the district on reopening schools with COVID. And I have, I guess, prematurely said in response to some of the communications I've gotten from teachers, please speak to your Talc rep or your principal. I hadn't realized that they hadn't voted on the contract yet, on the amendments to the contract. But anyway, just wanted to compliment everybody who was involved in that process. I thought they did a great job. Very short comment on the proximity zone list. Planning department, you did an awesome job putting together a group of people who are invested in the Lee County infrastructure as well as in the social and welfare services for the planning department. So great job. Let's see, some of the stuff I wanted to talk about has been covered. I guess I should offer my opinion on the reopening. I think we have a good plan. I think we have a responsive plan. It's responsive to the needs of students and parents, and based on the numbers of students and families who have signed up, as well as staff who have committed to return, I think there's a high level of confidence in the community that the district is doing everything it possibly can to protect students and staff in the process of reopening. And I'm very confident that if it doesn't go well, we are able to say it's not going well, we need to step back and reboot. But I appreciate the terror and the frustration that many people feel about this process. But I do think it's what we have done, what district leadership has done, is really what's best for families in Lee County. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Yes, Ms. Gittens.
Did you want to mention the Bonita, the YMCA opening?
Oh, okay, sure. I attended the Sky Family is supporting YMCA's in Sarasota, Charlotte, and now Lee County. They have restored the Bonita YMCA, and a member of the Bonita Bay community led an effort to open up a pre-K center at the Bonita YMCA, and we had a chance to see it, and it's great. And you know, I think Debbie or someone talked about partnerships. You know, we need kids coming to school ready for school. The only way they're going to come to school ready for school is if they've had an opportunity or been exposed to all of those things that you're expected to have when you enter kindergarten. And so, you know, the YMCA in Bonita is making that happen for up to 150 kids, I think. And I hope it's the beginning of similar partnerships throughout Lee County, because we can't do it ourselves. We need those partners. So yes, thank you for mentioning that. We are very grateful to the Sky YMCA group. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'll be brief. I wanted to say, piggyback on the community partnership idea. I attended a Healthy Lee meeting this morning, and they thank us for our participation with their teacher appreciation contest and with their trying to reach people with opportunities to fill out their census numbers. Also attended a Drug-Free Coalition meeting, and they are big on prevention and have prepared, along with some of our other community partners like Sal's Care and Hanley Center, opportunities for families struggling with the time that they have no supervision, and they're working with the Boys and Girls Clubs, et cetera, to make sure that children, the parents have assistance with supervision for the kids. And then they are continuing to work with the business community to have support for their prevention run and their other Drug House Odyssey and other activities that they provide for our kids to help with that. So I wanted to just say thank you for all of the district efforts in supporting our community partners as they do us. So I had my meeting with Mr. Daly and the Spout people this morning also. And then regarding the reopening of schools, you know, we have a 19.8 positivity test rate in Lee County, according to today's Florida Department of Health report. So we ended up with 1,291 cases of people less than 18 years of age. 6,526 were tested, 5,235 tested negative. There's been a lot of discussion on the local news and the national news regarding the testing. Testing, oftentimes, people don't get their results for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, and by then, it's really, according to someone from the Surgeon General's office, really not relevant anymore. So when we look at the positivity rate, it's the percentage of those tested. So I think we have to put it into perspective when we live in a county where we have nearly 800,000 residents, and I don't know exactly the percentage of those who are under 18, but I think it's significant. So, like Debbie, I have grandkids and great-grandkids that attend school. So out of the 5 who are currently students, 4 will be going face-to-face and 1 will be doing Home Connect. I think that we have a good plan, because in listening to the people in my community who are contacting me, I understand that there are some people like LaQuisha and other medical personnel and first responders and people who have no opportunity to do anything but go to work if they want to keep a roof over their heads and feed their kids. And it's not that we're a child care situation, but we do provide care for children. We have become the surrogate parents. We spend more time with kids than their own families do. And I think that parents are confident that we will do everything we can, like we always do, to take care of their children. So having the choices, and Dr. Atkins and I talked about this before, I said with the choices that we have, we can't deny people that opportunity when they don't have another choice but to send their kids to school. So people who do not want to don't have to, because there's Home Connect, there's Lee Virtual, and there's Homeschool. So I think we really need to stick with our plan at this time. And I know that Broward County, I just heard on the news before I came here, they had said they were going to go strictly virtual, and that the superintendent from Broward made an announcement before that that's not going to be the case. They're going to provide opportunity for those who need to come face-to-face to be able to do that. So I think that with an abundance of caution, with people using common sense, and with kids following the rules, I think we're going to be okay. I understand that we had 15,000 children, elementary children, attend summer school at 6 different schools, and it involved 300-plus teachers and other staff, and that there was not one incident of any illness. So those are encouraging because the kids are resilient and they'll follow the rules and keep the masks on, and I think that we just have to do what we have to do. We cannot totally stop life, and we must accommodate everyone's needs, and there are a lot of different needs in this community. So that is all I have to say, and I don't want to repeat what other board members have said. So one other comment I just wanted to mention, Dr. Atkins, someone had asked me about this and I had neglected to pass it on to you, but I had a couple of people ask, isn't it now a good time for us to look at having a registered nurse at every school? Just thought I'd put that out there. And I thank you all for your hard work, and it's good to see you all again. And now, Ms. Bruno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just from a legal perspective for the board members, the executive order that came out July 6, 2020, Executive Order 2020 E06, specifically requires that schools be open brick and mortar 5 days a week and to provide services. Now, I will tell the board that there is a county that last week attempted to do virtual school for the first 3 weeks and not open brick and mortar. Within 1 day after that decision was made by the board, Mr. Cochran, the Commissioner of Education, sent a letter not accepting that particular plan and instructing that county to either, 1, go by your original plan that you submitted, or 2, provide me with 6 different factors on a school-by-school analysis, or 3, go back to what the statute requires you to do. It's important for the board members to remember that emergency order does allow for funding even if you're going to incorporate e-learning. And that's what the main issue is the funding. If you do not have that brick and mortar, then you will only be getting funding on the virtual, which is a pretty much, a nice pocketbook hit. In addition to that, there are concerns that if we do not follow the particular order, that there may be some issues with regards to credit rating and bond covenant issues because we are not following a directive from the state. So I just wanted to make sure that board members were aware of that. And that's all my comments today, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Attorney Bruno. Dr. Atkins.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just go through some of the questions that were raised this evening. The first had to do with Ms. Giovanelli raised a question regarding if teachers pay for things that they bring in versus fundraise. So just to clarify, if a teacher, an air purifier was one of the things that was raised. Yeah, I think Ms. Gittens raised that as well, yes. So if a teacher buys an air purifier with his or her funds and brings it to school to use, the purifier is obviously the teacher's property. If someone gives the air purifier to the teacher, donates it to them individually, and the teacher brings it to school, the purifier is the teacher's property. If the school's name was used on a fundraiser per Board Policy 2.10, then the property purchased with the proceeds of the fundraiser is the school's property. So I believe that answers the question. So, if you're a teacher, you fundraise for something for your classroom, that would stay with the classroom, but obviously if you pay for it yourself, then that's your property. So I believe that answers the question. Okay. The next thing that came up related to kindergarten. So Dr. Quisenberry drafted a response, which I did send, or Lauren sent to board members earlier today, but we do recognize that kindergartners, that can be a pretty difficult time for parents to be dropping their kindergartners off at the schoolhouse. I remember attending not too long ago the San Carlos, was it Boohoo Breakfast? where parents of kindergartners can go to the media center and have breakfast and have a few tears with the breakfast as their kindergartner goes off to kindergarten class. So that's a tradition that a lot of schools do, something similar to what you see down in San Carlos Elementary. What we're trying to do is, what we are doing to help alleviate some of those concerns is every one of our elementary schools is providing an open house for kindergartners where the parents can come to the open house with their student. They can walk the students to class to meet the teachers. They can also allow time to practice coming in off the bus ramp or coming in off the parent drop-off, which, with kindergartners, we bring them in off the bus, put the bus number on them and move them to class, so it gives them an opportunity to do that. It also, again, gives that opportunity for that parent to meet with the kindergarten teacher. And, when I was talking to Dr. Spiro about this earlier today, because I knew, we knew this was an issue that would come up, we want to also assure the board that our schools are going to provide flexibility, so if a parent is unable to make an appointed time at an open house, that there still would be afforded that opportunity during this preschool period of time to be able to make that school connection. The last thing I just need to mention, what we're trying to do is, again, try to really knock down the numbers of people that are coming into buildings. And the biggest concern here would be the contact tracing. So if you have a number of parents coming into the school and then you get a positive case, just trying to make all those connections. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Certainly, I'd be happy to entertain discussion, but I wanted to provide at least the information to the board in terms of what steps are being taken specifically with kindergarten parents that are really over and above. We're doing the drive-through open houses for our other students, but kindergarten do have that opportunity to come onto campus, walk the campus, meet the teachers. And I think, if you want to have the discussion now, this would probably be the appropriate time. Or I can entertain questions.
Okay. Ms. Giovanelli?
So, okay, so I said this earlier, and I'm going to take my mask off. I'm sorry, I need to breathe. I was excited just to be here. This was like first day of school for me today. So I can only imagine the excitement for the students and everybody getting ready to go back to school and the anticipation of that. So I think you have a lot, the plan in place, first of all, I was very excited and very happy with the plans because I think we do have to have options, as everyone said. So I think we're handling everything. For me, it just, as long as every plan is in place that keeps everyone safe as best to our ability, is what we do and we're doing. So, I mean, I guess, could it be where each school principal kind of works that out with, because how large are the classrooms going to be? I think they're all going to be different sizes. So is that something that they could work out, like individually? And I mean, my granddaughter, she would have been fine to drop off last year, and she just said bye, and she wouldn't have cared. So I mean, she was too busy working the hallway herself. So I just think I understand the parent. I mean, I can understand. So I'm curious what other people have to say, the other board members, but it's a kindergarten's for the moms. I don't know, parents.
I know. I know.
She sounds like a kindergarten mom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to hear what others have
Thank
to
you.
say.
Mrs. Patrica?
This is not the appropriate time for a board discussion without a motion on the table, so I'm not comfortable having a discussion. I mean, if we want to bring it up at the next workshop we have, that's fine, but without a motion, this is an action meeting where we don't discuss, we act and give reports. I mean, I've got plenty to say, but this is not the time for that.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Jordan?
We just had this conversation, but she's right.
Okay. Ms. Gittens?
I understand Ms. Patrica's stance on that. This is a very unusual time, and a very unusual circumstance. And we have the families of 95,000 students that are waiting to hear from us, from the superintendent, what is going on. And I think we won't have another meeting until, what, the 20-something? And I've often said that if we don't put out the right information at the right time, people will make up what they think is the answer. And I understand the protocol of not, having a motion on the table, but I do believe that this is an unusual time and that we should take the time, if it's going to help 10 parents to understand better and to understand their questions, I think that it's important enough to the community that we take a few moments to do this. And I don't know if you want to take a consensus, but I do have a few more things I would like to ask the superintendent for the purposes of the community.
Well, we received the petition today. We actually, so it came up today.
Can we ask the parliamentarian?
So can I go ahead with my questions?
Madam Chair, so I did mention before that there was no motion on the table with regards to the issue with the petition for the kindergartner. My recommendation to the chair at this point is to allow whatever comment relating to this particular topic, since that door has been open, but no other topics should be discussed and no further discussion because there is no motion on the floor.
Yes, right, I'm aware. Thank you. We'll continue now, Mrs. Gittens, because I'm going to give each person one opportunity to speak.
Well, in the beginning of the meeting, beginning of my comments, I did have questions for the superintendent, and we had decided that we would wait until board comments to bring those up. I thought that was what we agreed to. So anyway, stop me if you have to. Two quick questions. One, is there a dress code for Connect? Strange question, but parents want to know that.
Ms. Gittens, the superintendent invited the discussion on the kindergarten issue, so can we just stick with that now per Attorney Bruno's recommendation?
Was that the only thing that we were going to discuss about this?
At this point, we are out of order in terms of parliamentary procedure because there is no motion on the floor to allow a discussion. But since the chair opened the door and the superintendent did invite discussion with regards to the petition, then that's pretty much the limit of what we're able to talk about at this point.
So can we make a motion?
I think, Madam Chair, I think at this point, if Ms. Gittens has any other comments with regards to the kindergartner issue, that's one thing, but then we should move forward to Ms. Vaughn and then Ms. Morgan, and if there's a motion that needs to be entertained, it could be entertained after Ms. Morgan has had an opportunity to speak.
Well, my questions in my discussion had to do with the reopening of school. I didn't know that we had narrowed it to just the kindergarten petition. I thought that we were discussing the reopening of schools.
We will certainly talk about reopening the school. I will get to that in my comments, and you can ask questions. I've written this down, so we'll make sure we come back with the dress code question.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn.
Well, I think Ms. Gittens made an excellent point that if only 10 parents out there listening learn why we're doing what we're doing. I'm not sure when Ms. Stillwell sent her email outlining this, but for whatever reason, I did not see it yet. I didn't have the opportunity to read it. So, was it this afternoon? Okay, well, for whatever reason, I stopped reading the emails at a certain time and didn't see it. So, I brought up this issue having read last night's email from a parent and talking about the petition, and it just kind of hit me like, okay, so why can't we? And I didn't bring this up to have a vote, So I thought that I was in good shape since at the beginning of the meeting I asked about that. And I appreciate that some board members have a more strict version of how we conduct these things. And maybe I'm out of line in saying that I'm a little bit more progressive in that, a little more liberal in what we discuss, because I think besides our function as action, I think it is important that we let these parents know exactly. I'm not sure that they realized exactly why and what all the schools were doing. And I know we don't always have a consistency among all the schools. Different principals may be doing things in different ways. And I totally agree with Ms. Gittens that another function that we have here is to let the public know that as their governance board, that we are listening and that we are considering everything. And again, I didn't bring this up so that we could vote to go with the petition, and I just wanted to know the details. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan.
Yeah, so the question's been asked and answered. The question was the petition. We're aware of the petition. The response has already come from the superintendent. It's gone out to parents. I think we need to give people an opportunity to reflect on what the district has done in response to their questions before we have any further discussion about interfering with the superintendent's plan. So that's my comment.
Thank you. And then I'll just conclude by giving my comment, which is there is a plan and there's a reason for it. We are in the middle of a public health emergency, so the health and safety of our students and staff is the priority right now. And I think that if there are any other considerations following board members' comments, that the superintendent can report back to the board with other options or suggestions, and that we can discuss it at our next workshop, which is on the 24th. You want to continue, Dr.
Okay.
Atkins?
Thank you. And one of the things that I will be doing tomorrow is we have a principals meeting, so I will emphasize again with our principals, some of the, all of the board members concerned. I know you're all concerned about kindergartners in that first day. And they'll, in terms of our communication with our parents, to make sure they have the information that I'm providing here to you today regarding the open houses. In terms of what's going on with the reopening, just to give you some additional information, one of the things that has been happening is that the teachers have been completing their intent preference forms. We've had over 5,000 teachers that have actually completed those forms. So Dr. Pruitt is working very diligently. In fact, that's where she is right now, I believe is back in her office. Oh no, she's back here. Yeah, she told me I'm going to be working. But anyway, Dr. Pruitt has got a pretty monumental task in front of her and her HR team of really trying to make the balance between students and staff. Fortunately, we do have over 60% of our teachers, I believe 66%, that have chosen to do the face-to-face option is one of the things that they would like to do.
Can you repeat that number, please? I'm sorry.
66%
Of who?
of our teachers have chosen face-to-face.
Thank you.
In terms of what they picked on that selection sheet. And so that's very helpful because she has to match that up with the following numbers I'm going to give you as an update. Our students face-to-face as of today are 32,583. Again, that's the face-to-face option. The Lee School Connect, which is tethered to your school, so the Manatee Elementary Lee School Connect, 30,990, so that's our second most popular, is the Lee School Connect. Our virtual school is currently at 11,079. I expect this number to continue to track down. We've been making contact with those students and those parents, and many of them are shifting over to a different model, like the model that's connected with their schools, which is important because, and I'll get to the question regarding funding, but it does have an impact there. We do have 727 of our students that are homeschooling, and then we have 10,000 students that we're in the process of tracking down, so schools are reaching out to those students and trying to get a final tally on, or final request for them. And those that we're not able to make contact with will be assigned to a face-to-face option, but we are doing that one additional step. When it comes to the dress code, which was one of the things that was asked, is that your school dress code, as far as I know, would be pretty much consistent with our district dress code. And if you think about it, if you're doing a Zoom or virtual class, then that's something that students can see other students, and so dress code. One of the reasons we do dress code is so that we don't have anything that provides a material disruption to the educational process, and if somebody's got a dress code violation, that potentially causes that. So we want to avoid those as best we can. One of the things that is a concern regarding just a strict virtual school option, if you're in Lee Virtual School, is there is a loss of funding. That has to do predominantly with the categorical funding, such as, and this is again a board member question, good question, class size reduction dollars, classroom supply dollars, SAI dollars, transportation dollars. All of these things are categoricals that you're not eligible for if you're connected with Lee Virtual School. So originally when we started with the virtual school, that was up to 13,000. So that's a potential reduction of about 22.9 million. So we're working with Al Schilling. In fact, the team was working with them today to get teachers assigned, but also to try to get those numbers down and moved into another option. Not only because of the funding, but poor Mr. Schilling, our heart goes out to him because he's moved from a relatively small of a few hundred to the largest school in the Lee County School District, and that's quite a challenge if you think about managing that. So Dr. Spiro and Dr. Pruitt and others were working with him today to try to work those numbers down. So that's where we are right now, but as you can imagine, with what Dr. Pruitt is having to do, we are putting some decisions on hold, and that means staffing decisions in terms of bringing people in from externally outside the district, moving people around, because she has to do all that movement now with existing staff. So if you get any of that type of feedback, understand that that's what's happening right now, is we're trying to get all this balancing first before we move into hiring externally again. So I did mention we have a principals meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be talking to our principals about next steps. So again, asking them to hold off on new positions until we work through that process. And I believe that is all the comments that I have regarding that. We are working, there was a comment about nurses. I do know we did hire a little bit in terms of additional staff. And I think that's something we'll continue to review.
Thank you very much. Okay, on Friday, August 24th, there will be a board workshop at 1 p.m.
Sorry, there's one more question. There was another question about reopening that Ms. Gittens
Ms.
had.
Gittens.
Yes, it's regarding reopening. The one question is, you gave the numbers for the 32,583 for face-to-face and the 10,000 with no answer.
Mm-hmm.
How are we preparing for that 10,000 or less, hopefully, to be absorbed into that face-to-face? And that's driving what Dr. Pruitt is doing, correct?
Yes, it's driving what Dr. Pruitt is doing. It's also driving what our APCs are doing at the school. What our school staffs are doing is reaching out to those students and trying to see whether or not they are going to commit to a face-to-face model or another model as they're doing that, the APCs are working to schedule those students appropriately if it's a face-to-face model. So that's another added layer, because APCs have to, and other school staff have to, update and revise that school schedule to make room for those 10,000 students. And I do want to mention class size was brought up. I forgot to mention class size in my comments. What we are trying to do is trying to have low class sizes face-to-face, as low as we can, and your virtual class may be a little bit larger. But let me be very clear for teachers out there, please, this is an important piece of information. So for example, if I'm a teacher, I may have a class load of 150 students, okay, overall, 150 students. Now normally, I would be having that divided out, 25 kids per class over 6 periods, right? What we're doing now, because of having some of the classes that might be in person and some of the classes that might be virtual, is if I'm a teacher, let's say I'm a middle school teacher, which is or a high school teacher, I might have my virtual classes might be a little bit larger, and my classes face-to-face would be a little bit smaller, which would allow us to social distance. So you may hear some things about, I have a second period class that has 40 kids in it, but what they're striving to do is give that teacher, what would be typical for a class load overall, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a secondary example. Of course, our elementary examples, elementary, again, they're trying to do as best they can with having, face-to-face with a smaller group, and then, that would be with a teacher all day, and then our teachers that would be virtual, you'd be meeting with a group of kids virtually, and that might be, I don't know what class sizes would be there. I'm looking at Dr. Spiro. They trying to keep within a class size amendment, I believe, is still the goal. Correct?
Yeah, it's the 1 to 25 for primary, 1 to 30 for intermediate.
Okay, so 1 to 25 for primary, 1 to 30 for intermediate.
And that will be mixed, some virtual, some not?
It depends on the situation. So in other words, we do have some situations where a teacher, let's say that we have a teacher that we're trying to do accommodations for, or a teacher that we just need to go full virtual, so that teacher would have just virtual students. Or it might be a situation where I'm a high school teacher and I have, 4 of my classes are face-to-face and 2 of my classes are virtual classes. Mm-hmm. And we're trying the best we can to keep those broken apart. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that will happen in all cases. There are some teachers that are willing and I know with the bargaining unit, they were able to get some flexibility there in some cases, so that a teacher might be doing some of those simultaneously, but we're trying to avoid those where we can, and only when the teacher is flexible enough to do that. And that may not always be the case. They may not be comfortable with that, and I know Angela and Talc are working have worked through those issues in bargaining, and will continue to do that through labor management.
And the very last thing I promise is, sometimes in the rooms, having, been a teacher, the temperature can be, if it's set at a, 70 whatever, the suggestion was if we can lower the temperatures, because having masks on all day at 75, 70, it can get very uncomfortable.
Okay, so certainly take that under advisement. That is a challenge.
I know, yes.
It's a challenge. And it's a challenge, I mean, those of you that have been in buildings, you know how different people feel differently about temperature. And I will tell just a quick story. Moved into a brand new building, took us 6 months to get all teachers happy with their temperature in their classroom, and then maintenance took it over and went all back to where it was, and I was not happy, but anyway, those are all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Now, next scheduled meetings of the board. On Friday, August 24th, there will be a board workshop at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, August 25th, there will be a briefing meeting at 1 p.m. and an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Home safe, everyone. Thank you.
We don't vote?